If you've got stubborn belly fat that you can't shift and you're struggling to build muscle, kind of all belly and no arms, then you're stuck in that skinny fat physique, which means you're probably making this one mistake. And I've actually worked with over 174 skinny fat men and helped them fix their physiques. And since doing that, I realized there was one common mistake that they were all making. They were all following generic fat loss advice. They were just trying to eat less and move more. They would jump between cuts and bulks and ultimately get nowhere. They would do endless amounts of cardio hoping that would lose their belly, but they ended up just shrinking and being a smaller version of skinny fat. And then they would do silly diets like keto and just dropping their calories down extremely low, which only meant more muscle loss and ultimately just binging and falling back to where they were at the start. Essentially, too much cardio, dropping their calories too aggressively, and jumping from program to program. And if you're in that skinny fat category, these are some of the worst things you can do. You can't really just go straight up on a cut because you're going to lose more muscle than body fat. You can't really go on a bulk because all those areas that you dislike, like the love handles, belly, and moobs, are only going to grow with you. Not to mention, at the end of that bulk, you're going to have an absolute mammoth of a cut waiting for you, which again further increases the risk of you losing muscle if you do it wrong. So how do we fix this? Over the years, I've put together a bit of a 4-phase system that helps lose body fat, increase muscle, and also increase metabolic rate by the end of it, so you can actually keep the physique that you build. This works regardless of your starting point, how busy you are, what age you are, and how much experience you have in the gym. So let's just get straight into it and start with phase 1, and that is recomp, which simply put is just a recomposition. This is a key focus point to lose body fat and try and keep and potentially gain lean mass. Now, full disclaimer, not everyone's going to gain muscle in a recomp phase. That's very much down to your genetics and how much experience you have. But if you're brand new to lifting weights and you still haven't really had all your newbie gains, then it's still quite a high likelihood that you can gain some lean muscle in a recomposition phase. On the flip side, if you've been training for several years, you're probably not going to gain muscle, but you can certainly keep it. However, the key focus on this phase is just losing body fat and getting lean whilst keeping as much lean mass as possible. This can be achieved by aiming for a slightly smaller calorie deficit. So instead of dropping your calories down by thousands at a time and run the risk of going catabolic and basically making yourself ill, which means you're probably just going to go back to normal and put all those calories back in, we want something more sustainable, somewhere between 300 and 500 calories below your active maintenance calories. And of course, making sure that your protein is significantly high, somewhere between 1 gram per pound of lean body weight. Now, to help make sure that you work this out accurately, I have put together a free nutritional blueprint, which you can grab for free in the bio below. Now, the reason this smaller calorie deficit works so well is you're eating enough below maintenance that you're going to lose body fat by being in a deficit, but you're not too much in a deficit that you start eating away into lean tissue. It just makes it more sustainable, easier to stick to. You'll have better performance and better recovery. And if you are still new to the gym, you're still eating enough to significantly gain muscle, especially if your protein is high enough. And then, of course, to make sure that we're actually hitting these numbers, I always recommend that you track your calories. I know a lot of people don't like to do that, but let's be real. If you want to create a change in your physique and you actually want to achieve something, you're going to have to step up and make some changes. You can't expect to lose body fat and gain muscle, but just guess your numbers. The body's only going to change based on what those numbers are. So the best way to make sure you hit them is track them. You'd be very surprised how easy it is to go over, or you might end up being nowhere near the numbers you thought you were. So tracking will guarantee that. And just as a quick side note, fitness is not one size fits all. If you cannot track or you don't like the idea of tracking, you can stick to a meal plan. I just find they're a bit boring, a bit restrictive, and they tend to not last as long as someone that's flexible tracking their calories. Plus, if you need to make an adjustment, it's easier when you're tracking, whereas if you're doing a meal plan, you have to kind of rejig things around. But either way, whatever nutrition strategy you feel confident you can stick to long term is going to be the best option. And when it comes to the training side of things, we want to have a predominant bias towards strength gains. So this means getting stronger at lifts like squats, bench, deadlifts, or if you're still new to the gym or not very comfortable with those movements, machines will be absolutely fine. Lat pull downs, seated rows, chest press machines, shoulder press machines, leg press machines, you get the point. Whatever you're comfortable to sticking with in the gym that you can focus on slowly building strength with, that's going to be best for you. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not realistic for most men to get to a busy gym, 8 o'clock at night after work, and start trying to set up a deadlift station if it's busy. So sometimes machines are actually going to be preferable for you based on your lifestyle and what you have access to. Either way, a strength-focused training workout routine is going to be the best option because you're not burning through muscle tissue as much as if you were doing high reps, but you're also conditioning your body to keep lean mass to keep up with the routine that you're putting it through. So pair that with a slight calorie deficit, high protein, and a body that's getting stronger, you're going to keep, potentially gain lean mass, but also lose body fat because of the deficit you're creating. Now, to be honest with you, this phase might fix most skinny fat physiques right off the bat. My client Reese here, he did just the recomposition and he lost all the body fat, and all the muscle gains you see in this photo was done purely in a recomposition. But this did take 12 months. It's not a quick overnight thing. Losing body fat and gaining muscle and fixing that skinny fat physique is not going to happen in 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, despite what social media is going to tell you. If it's taking you 10 years to slowly get out of shape, you're not going to fix it overnight. But you can achieve a head-turning transformation and change your life for the better physically, mentally, and health-wise just by following a recomposition. And then, of course, tracking everything and adjusting it over time so you don't hit a plateau. My client Matthew was also able to lose body fat and gain muscle in a recomposition. This one only took 14 weeks because he absolutely locked in and didn't miss a single day. So with my client Matt, he was able to lose his belly and gain significant muscle in a calorie deficit. So a recomposition might be the best option. And this is why it's the first phase, because if you get lean, you can work from the ground up. My client Tom also was able to gain a significant amount of muscle in a calorie deficit doing a recomposition. So if you are quite new to the gym, you can still get a lot of gains doing this. Now on to phase two. Phase two is resistance. Once you've got your calories set up properly and you're losing body fat and you're getting lean on your recomposition, your body will slowly become accustomed to what you're putting it through. You get metabolic adaptation, where your body becomes more efficient with the calories that you're giving it, and your body will eventually hit a plateau in the gym where it becomes accustomed but not challenged. And this is why most men fall off, lose motivation, and end up just not really finishing their full transformation. They see a little bit of progress at the beginning, they lose 5-10 pounds, great, and then 4, 5, 6 months down the line, they're not really getting anywhere, and that's normally a sign that they've hit a plateau. So phase two, resistance, it's all about focusing on key metrics of overload to push the body past that plateau and break those walls. The way I do this with my clients is I try and focus on one key metric of overload at a time. It could be strength, intensity, time under tension, an increase in volume. It really depends on the client and where they've kind of plateaued in their training routine, which is why I do recommend you log your workouts. You can use an app, pen and paper. As long as you know what you did last time and what you're going to try and aim for the next workout, you got most bases covered. Now the main metric I said before is obviously strength. So if you're getting stronger in the gym, you're going to see a good amount of progression with your physique. And strength can be done in different ways. You can do a 5x5 system, you could do pyramid sets. It's entirely up to you. As long as you're tracking that workout, sticking to it strict for at least 6 to 8 weeks and seeing what that progressive overload is looking like, then you're going to know when to adjust. If by the end of those 8 weeks you're still gaining strength, keep sticking to that routine. There's no point changing it if it ain't broke. Or you might get to the end of those 6 weeks and realize nothing's changed, then it's back to the drawing board, tweak your workout routine and go from there. Now let's say you do cap out with your strength and nothing's budging. You could do more controlled tempo work to overload the muscles. You could even change the workout routine entirely, so you can swap, say, a bench press for an incline bench press or a dumbbell bench press. As long as there's some form of challenge and overload at the right times, your body will continue to adapt and improve. Now by the end of phase 1 and 2, you would have most likely fixed the skinny fat physique. You'd be bigger, stronger and leaner. You would increase your strength, so your body may need more calories to sustain it. And for some guys, that's going to fix the job. But on the flip side, let's say for example, you started off really skinny fat, very small, but with stubborn body fat, and you finish your recomp, you've gained a little bit of muscle, but you still kind of want a bit more size, you want bigger shoulders, bigger chest, bigger arms, whatever it may be, then that brings us to phase 3, and that is reverse. Now this is just simply a reverse diet. So obviously you would have been in a calorie deficit, you'd be training and losing body fat, so you can't do that forever because you're going to slowly run out of energy. It's not sustainable and it's not necessarily very healthy. So what we want to do in this phase is slowly reverse those calories back up to your new maintenance. Now some people just throw their calories straight back to maintenance and assume that's okay, and a lot of times that comes with a bit of premature body fat gain just from the massive leap in calories. So what I do with clients here is we normally just slowly build the calories back up to their maintenance, which will be different now they've gained muscle and lost body fat, so you may need to reuse the nutritional blueprint to recalculate those numbers. And then obviously we'll tweak the training and the macronutrient splits just to make sure that you're at maintenance. Now some guys can go away with this and they're cool and they're happy at maintenance and that's what they need, but as I said, if you want to gain more size and actually fill out your physique and also increase your demand for calories in the future so you can actually eat more for maintenance, then you may need to actually add some more lean mass. And this is where we go into the final phase, which is the regrow phase. Now this is simply, I'm just gonna be honest with you, it's basically a bulk, but it's a lean bulk. Now a lot of times when I say regrow and we do this lean growing phase, everyone's like, hey, that's just a bulk, isn't it? Yes and no. When you think bulk, you think eat big to get big, right babe? You think loads of carbs, loads of calories, excessive food. You imagine those old bodybuilders from back in the day, like Lee Priest with his bucket of chicken. And don't get me wrong, I love dirty bulks. You know, some guys might want to do that. As someone that's done them several times, they don't gain as much muscle as you might think, especially if you're natural and you're not taking any special sources. Because the bigger the surplus does not mean the bigger the muscle gains, unfortunately. The bigger the surplus, the more likelihood of stored energy, which is going to be body fat. There's only so much muscle you can grow, so you're better off aiming for a lean bulk instead of a dirty bulk, because there's two benefits to this. One, you're going to gain more lean mass throughout the whole entire journey, and two, you're going to have less body fat at the end of it, which means a shorter recomposition by the end of the bulk. And as an added benefit, if you do it lean enough, long enough, you can probably bulk for a little bit longer, which means you're more likely to gain more lean mass total. If you just chuck a bunch of fat on as quick as possible, that bulk is not going to last very long, and it might take you longer to cut down than you think, and the longer the cut, the more likelihood of you losing some of those hard-earned gains. So take it from me, from someone that's done dirty bulk several times and not really got much out of it, a lean bulk is the way to go. In fact, my client Avi used to do dirty bulks and massive cuts, what I like to call the bro cycle, where we just jump between each one, and ultimately he ended up just looking the same. He would add a bunch of size, lose a bunch of size, and realize, okay, great, that was pointless. And we fixed that by doing a recomposition, a reverse diet, straight into a regrow phase where he kept it lean throughout, and then all he needs to do is a mini recomposition just to dial it back. So he's ultimately adding size and keeping the body fat to an absolute minimum, so he is literally bigger, stronger, and leaner. So how do we do a lean bulk? Now, lean bulk is very, very simple. It's kind of similar to how we do the recomposition. We reverse diet to maintenance, and then we add a slight calorie surplus. We start off with maybe 200, and then go up to 300, 400, 500. And we want to aim for an average healthy surplus of about 500. And that might not seem like a lot, but that is a significant amount to be able to grow and gain muscle. And as you gain weight, as you get stronger, as you overload in the gym, as you add muscle, that number will slowly go up with you. You don't want to just go bulking. Cool, let's just check 4,000, 5,000 calories, because your body's not going to suddenly pack on 10 pounds of muscle, but it can pack on 10 pounds of fat if the calories are too high. And then when it comes to the training side of things, we want to make sure that we're training for muscle hypertrophy. So yes, strength will still help, but strength training is not necessarily breaking down muscle tissue compared to muscle hypertrophy training, which is just simply more reps, maybe slightly less weight. And this is where you want to focus on tempo control, controlled negatives, maybe just like a simple 4 sets of 10, and then slowly adding reps and weight from that point. And that way you're maximizing time and attention, and you're going to grow and stimulate muscle growth. Now again, everything stops working eventually. What got you here won't get you there, so you will need to tweak that training as you go along. But keep it simple, track your workouts, and then review your progress over, say, 6 weeks, 8 weeks intervals. With my clients, every week I check through their workouts and their performance, and we make adjustments accordingly, so they're constantly growing and gaining and working around those plateaus. And again, everyone's got different genetics. You might do a dumbbell shoulder press and your shoulders blow up, whereas another client could do dumbbell shoulder press and nothing happens, and they might get on well with a machine with controlled tempos. The only way you're going to know this is log your workouts and review them. As long as you're progressively improving in the gym, focusing on quality form, eating good quality forms of food to get your nutrition, and you're adjusting those numbers, you will continue to grow and keep it as lean as possible. I normally recommend as a time frame for a bulk at least 6 months. A lot of people just think they can just jump from cuts and bulks every few months, and it's not really long enough to see any substantial changes. And then of course by the end of this regrow phase, you would have kept it relatively lean throughout, so you might be able to do it for 8 months, 9 months and still be pretty solid and lean. And at that point you may go, okay, cool, I want to trim it down for summer or an event, or maybe just reset the pattern by just doing a mini recomposition, in which case you can start at phase 1 again. Now this has worked for hundreds of men that I've worked with one-to-one, and it's worked for myself, and this is based on 10 years of trial and error and making a lot of mistakes, which is why I wanted to make this video, to help you avoid making that silly mistake of just copying generic fat loss advice, which isn't really applicable to skinny fat guys. And this process has worked for over 174 of my clients, like Avi, Reese, Matt, Matthew, Josh, Leon, Jordan, Shane, Ross, David, other David, James, Jeremy. And it's even worked for some female clients like Alex, who lost 165 pounds. So this system works. Feel free to follow it the best you can. Make sure you grab your nutritional blueprint to make sure that those numbers are correct. And if you want some one-to-one help like all my clients had, or you just want me to walk you through the process or actually coach you through it one-to-one to make sure it gets done properly and save you a bunch of time and effort, you can book a call with me one-to-one and see if I can help you out. Or you can even just drop me a message on Instagram at Elite Transformation Project if you have any questions. Hope this video helped you. If you're still not sure how to fix skinny fat, I've got loads of videos about it. Hit subscribe, like, and all that YouTube stuff, and watch whatever videos here. It's probably quite good, I hope. Might not be as good as this one, but give it a watch anyway. So let's get shredded.